Okay, good morning to everybody who's just attending the webinar, which is going to start in a few minutes' time. If you're in the room, please introduce yourself. On the right-hand side, there is a chat box. Just please just say your name and where you're from, and we'll be with you fairly soon. Good morning, Matt. So we've got Matt who's from the UK. That's great. Just introduce myself. My name's Darren. Pleased to meet you, Matt.
Hi, Matt. I'm Caroline from the Philippines. I'm representing the British Chamber of Commerce.
That's great. We're going to give it another couple of minutes for everybody just to arrive and attend. Everybody's grabbing their morning coffees or maybe evening coffees if you're in the Philippines.
Yeah. Afternoon tea.
Afternoon tea. What's the weather like in the Philippines at the moment, Caroline?
It's getting warmer now. We're approaching summer. So enough with the cool winds of December. We're approaching summer now. It's getting warmer.
I think we're a little bit jealous here because it's really cold here at the moment still. We had some warm temperatures a couple of weeks ago, but now it's turned quite sort of chilly, and we've had loads of really high winds as well. So maybe complete opposite to what you've got.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so we're just approaching just the 9 o'clock point here, so we'll just still keep it another couple of minutes. Just wait for people sort of just to arrive in. If you're just joining us, please just introduce yourself and just put your name on the right-hand side chat box. Just say who you are and where you're from. I think we are just a little bit early. Oh, we might have some very shy people. One of the two. And hopefully everybody's going to be learning quite a lot about exporting today. We'll go through very shortly what the webinar is going to be covering. But again, if you've got any questions, we have got the chat box, but there is a comments box below the presentation screen that you see. And that's the best place to leave any questions, because we can pick up those questions at the end of the webinar, but also people who are viewing the webinar at the end or later on, and they can see those questions. Good morning, Jeffrey. Great to see Jeffrey here. Go see Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
So just to introduce yourself, my name's Darren. I'm from Duco Digital, and Caroline. I'll let Caroline introduce herself.
Thanks, Darren. I'm Caroline, representing the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. So we're co-presenting this webinar this morning.
I'll say it's been a busy few months, isn't it, for us, so sort of building this webinar, and we're really excited to bring it to you today. We're a little bit nervous as well, let's be honest. So it's a big project, this one, but we've really enjoyed it, haven't we?
Yes, definitely. It's been months of work for the both of us, and glad that we're finally doing this now.
Good morning, Aidan. Thank you very much for joining us, and hope everything's good with you as well.
Hi, Paul.
That's good. We'll just give it another couple of minutes, just wait for people to get their coffees and to join us. We've had a good response to the webinar, and I say it's taken a good few months for Caroline and I to work on the webinar. Morning, Stephen. Good to see you here. This is great. So we'll just give it a little bit longer. And just to let everybody know that if you didn't quite catch it earlier on, that we've got the chat box that you're talking in now on the right-hand side, but we have a comments box below the presentation screen. So if you have any questions, if you've come with ideas and questions, please leave them now and throughout the webinar. You can leave them at any time. We're going to be covering all the questions at the end. And it's good to leave them in the comments box and not the chat box. The chat box is kind of temporary, so you see it now, but the comments box below, the comments box actually gets reviewed when people watch the webinar later on. So if they've registered and they can't see it, they can't attend now, they'll be able to see the questions that people are asking. And we've also been sent some questions in for some people who have registered who can't attend. So we've got some questions here for those, so we'll definitely be covering those as well. But I think we're just approaching now sort of like the 9 mark. So I think we'll get going. Please let us know what you're hoping to get out of the webinar as well. Again, leave it in the chat or leave it in the comments box below. But we'll get going. Here's just an itinerary of what we're going to be discussing for the next 60 minutes. So we're going to give ourselves a quick introduction so you know who we are. Good morning, Ken. Thanks for joining us. And then we're going to be covering the 5 steps to discovering a new market overseas. So we're going to be looking at the reasons and benefits of why of expanding overseas, why you should do it, and what you can get out of it, and then how you should approach starting out. So we're going to be looking at the research phase, and that really ties in nicely with what country you should choose. Okay, it's quite a big decision to make, so it can be difficult for some people to understand how to approach that question. And then understanding your sector in a new country and a new market. So how should you go about that? So we're going to cover some questions about that, and then look at the planning stages as well. There's an opportunity for you to keep asking questions, as we've mentioned. Hi, Mauro. Thank you for joining us. And we're also going to be looking at some information and advice. So we'll give you some contact details and to speak to us as well. So hope that all sounds great. Are you ready to go, Caroline?
Yes, let's get this going, Darren.
Okay, so I'm just going to pass you over to Caroline, who's going to introduce herself.
Thanks, Darren. Hi, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon from the Philippines. I'm Caroline. I'm the Chamber's Research and Project Officer, and I took up marketing management here in the Philippines. So I'm co-hosting this webinar with Darren. Just to give you a bit of background about the Chamber, we are the recognized voice of British businesses here in the Philippines, and through the Overseas Partner Delivery Program, which is in partnership with the UK Department of International Trade, we assist UK SMEs in various sectors to grow and expand their market reach. We do that by offering business support services. So we've been assisting companies since April of 2014. And so far, we have assisted 2,000 British businesses. And listed below are the companies that have been successful using our business support services.
Okay, thanks very much, Caroline. I'm really impressed to hear that you've assisted 2,000 British businesses in the Philippines. I think that's fantastic. Okay, just briefly introduce myself. My name's Darren Winter. I'm the company director of Duco Digital. We're UK based and we specialize in empowering businesses to grow their business using digital marketing. So we do this through websites, social media, search engine optimization and training. And we're experiencing businesses expanding into international markets, which is why this webinar has come about. So that's a little bit about us, and then we're just going to dive straight into the webinar now. So I think the first question is, like, why should you grow your business overseas? Well, I think the first one that springs to mind is potentially if you've got a new product or a service that you want to market or promote. So this might be, you might develop this for a particular country or a specific audience, or you might have a growing customer base overseas and you want to capitalize on that by servicing them with maybe faster delivery or more ranges of products or services, and maybe just better customer service so you can get the product or the service to them a lot quicker. You might already have an existing successful product or service, and simply you might just wish to target or extend your existing customer base as well. So the second reason that you might want to grow your business overseas is just having a new geographical market. So this kind of ties in with what we've already discussed, except to say this might just take a few different forms. So you might have a main office that's based in the UK, and then after some research and growing interest overseas, you might consider it easier to open a satellite office in another country. And there's many great reasons why you should do this. So cultural and sensitivities. For example, some countries may respond better to having a closer office and employed local staff to support and service them, then rather than do all that back at home. There might be sort of financial reasons as well, such as taxes. It might be better to do business in some of those countries, depending on the type of product or service that you're offering. And then a third reason is competition at home in your domestic market. So what I'm coming at here is that over time, many new competitors might enter your sector, and then you're looking to a new market overseas because it might be a great option for you. And this may offset the challenges of having to reduce your prices or increase your quality, because once you get more competitors into your market, those are the two main areas you seem to find that puts a bit of pressure on you. So maybe finding a new market might kind of offset that. And it does depend on which angle the competitors are, or who the competitors are, and how they're entering your market. So sometimes they might enter your market based on price, based on quality, or they could be competing, dead on with exactly the same product and same service. And of course, I think probably one of the biggest reasons why you want to grow, or why you might want to grow your business overseas, is just to acquire more customers. Simply, that's an excellent reason just on its own. So let's move on to have a look at some of the benefits of why you might want to grow your business overseas. So diversification spreads risk, and we're looking geographically at this. So, for example, at the moment in the UK, Brexit, that dreaded word, is causing some businesses to feel like a certain degree of uncertainty about how that might affect their sales, their costs, or movement of goods or services. So what you might have read and seen in the news is businesses are looking to either reduce their presence in the UK and look to a nearby market which they consider is more consistent, and then review their options at a later stage. So although I've mentioned Brexit, it's fair to say that every country and region has their challenges over time. But what I'm coming at here is that if you choose maybe another market, if something is a bit unstable in one country, maybe for about 12 months, then potentially another sort of consistent and stable country might bring more benefits to your business. A second benefit, which you've already talked about, is more customers. It's pretty much guaranteed that if you're going to be looking to expand overseas successfully, then you're guaranteed to get more customers. And if you're going to get more customers and more sales, that's going to help grow your business and bring more stability as well. So I think that's a major benefit. And a third benefit is that you might find you could enter a market with little or no competitors there already. So if you have a product or a service, potentially if it's a niche product or service, you might have found somewhere that's got some demand for your product or service, but nobody else knows about it, then that's a great reason and a great benefit for you. So that's a great opportunity. And fourth, it might be easy to grow your brand in a different market. So you might have saturated your existing market and you might need to find somewhere else. It sounds more of a reason, but actually there's a benefit there because, again, it's about acquiring more customers. And if you've got an excellent track record already, then that's going to hopefully be easy to translate into a different market. So moving on to step 2, so the research phase. So from a marketing point of view, when it comes to researching, rather than going straight out to looking at the different countries, start with your own business first of all. Okay, so this is my advice. So look at who your current customers are. Okay, so look at the demographics and try to establish a customer persona. And this may vary from the type of product that your service that you offer. You may have different types of products or different types of services. So you might have multiple customer personas, but it's really important to understand what your current customer persona or personas are, okay? Because that's going to help you then, when you come to the research phase, look in different countries, you'll be able to see then if there is going to be demand from that type of customer in a different market. And in your research, consider who your competitors are in your existing market, and maybe just look outside of your geographical area and look at what their plans are. How do you see them growing over the next 12 to 18 months? Okay, so as we've said at the top of the webinar, you might see new competitors entering your market. So look at what their unique selling points are and match them to your own business. This can really help you see areas of weaknesses, strengths, opportunities, and threats. And we're going to talk about this just a little bit more later on. You're also going to discover areas of your business that you need to address. Okay, so maybe you might want to take the role of potential customers to your business. So experience what they see and hear. You might employ a mystery shopper or ask a professional such as Duco Digital for their thoughts or considerations to really understand the customer journey inside your business. I think it really is an excellent tip. Make sure you record your goals. So what do you want to achieve? What does success look like? You've got to make it specific with SMART goals. Okay, I think everybody knows what SMART goals are. But make them specific, make them SMART, and link them to your business goals. So here's a quick example. So if it's sales, you might want to grow your sales by 4% on the last year within 12 months. And this is going to happen by acquiring 100 new customers who will buy X product or this service, okay? And then finally, consider your current challenges. What are they and how are you going to overcome them? So this is a bit of honesty, I think, in this section here. And some people can kind of struggle with it a little bit. But I think if you've been really honest with yourself, then most of these questions should be reasonably easy to answer. But you could use you could involve a team if you want to, ask them, and you'll get more insight and input as well. So on to step 3, which country should I choose? Well, as I put here, the world is a big place. So there's about 194 different countries. I think Stephen might maybe confirm that, but I think 194 different countries. So there's a lot of choice, and you can't target them all at once. It's pretty much impossible, so at least successfully to do this. So our advice is to maybe start with 2 or 3, or start with a region. If you don't know the specific countries, maybe just choose an area and think about why you want to choose that area. Okay. So keeping in with step 3 about which country you should choose, let's have a look at how you can do this. Okay, so we're going to expand on a few answers that we gave at the top of the webinar. So when you're looking at choosing the country, look at their rules of how to do their trade and business. So some countries have more liberal controls than others for all different sorts of reasons. So I'll give you an example. So China is a fantastic place to do business. It's got a huge population with plenty of opportunity. But if you're Google or Bing, then it's very challenging, if impossible, because of certain controls. I'm sure you've read all about that they kind of use their own search engines now in China, and Google and Bing are finding it very difficult to do business there. And you might be thinking so far that this is a lot of work to do, but we are going to look shortly at who can help you. And don't forget, we're going to be answering all your questions at the end, so please leave them in the comments box below if you've got any questions. So moving on to the risks. So look at the risks of doing business in the country. So in some cultures, bribery is part of everyday life to do business, and you might feel uncomfortable with that. I know I was put in a position last year when I was doing business with a client in the Asian region, and I sought the help and advice of from Stephen, actually, from the Department of International Trade in the UK, because I just wanted to make sure I was going along the right lines. It was something that was very, very new to me, and I was just a little bit uncertain. So you soon quickly work out what's going to work well for you, or some areas that perhaps this is just not. I'm just not ready for this yet. So again, take that into consideration. Language and culture, I think, are really important considerations. So finding a country which speaks good English might be at the top of your list. And certainly if they can understand your product or service, or the benefits of your products and service, that's going to be a lot easier for you than having to repurpose your entire business in a different language. So again, that's a really important consideration. Money, I'll put that on the list. As we mentioned, you need to be considerate about taxes, and also the availability of disposable income to purchase your goods or services. So if you've got a luxury product, you might find a lot of people are interested in buying your luxury products, but if they haven't got the disposable income, then that's going to be a massive challenge for you. And just with money as well, exchange rate. So just being aware of like how you manage your business and where money flows are happening as well. So that's something to think about as well. So these are all called barriers to entry, and there are many more. These are kind of just the main ones that we're talking about. But once you've looked at these, write down a few countries which fit with your business and your available resources. And one of the great countries I think you should consider is the Philippines, which is why Caroline's with us today. And I'm going to hand over to Caroline for a bit more discussion on that. Caroline, over to you.
All right, thanks, Darren. So I would just like to discuss a little bit about the Philippines for those who are new to the Philippines as well. So in the US News and World Report of 2018, the Philippines is actually ranked first in the best countries to invest in category. Why? Because we primarily we have a grower consumer market. Our average age is 25 years old, and our population is steadily growing at 107 million. And we are also well adapted to Western culture. We are generally a bilingual. Our population is generally bilingual, so it's also quite easy for British brands to get into the Philippines as well. And we take pride in our talent pool, and the thriving business process outsourcing and services sector is very much thriving here in the Philippines because of the English language as well. Next slide, please. And we would also like to highlight the robust infrastructure opportunities in the Philippines. The current government is highlighting the Build, Build, Build program, which also highlights the developments in other regions in the Philippines, not only in the capital in Manila, but also outside of it. This would drive development of jobs and infrastructure outside of Metro Manila. So a lot of opportunities for businesses out here as well.
That's great. Thank you very much, Caroline. I think there's some great insights there into the Philippines. And that kind of really sort of fits in with onto the kind of the next step here. So kind of so we're still on step 3 on the research about which country you should choose. So bearing in mind what Caroline's talked about and what I've already kind of sort of mentioned, so where can you get more help and advice? Well, Caroline's giving you some good insights there. So the chambers of commerce in the appropriate countries, I think, are a great first port of call. In the UK, you have got the Department of International Trade as well. And you've got some more sort of simple or straightforward sources of information. So you've got the internet, you've got social media, you've got books, journals, Wikipedia, and you've got local business clubs as well. You might be surprised to learn that even if you live in a kind of smaller remote community, there probably are quite a few hidden exporters of different services or products. But definitely start talking around and networking in your local business community. I think that's a really great first step to do. And tax and finance, seek professional advice. I've given you a link there to one, but there are many different people out there who can help you with tax and finance. But I think the point we're trying to make here is definitely seek professional advice when it comes to tax and finances. And again, chambers of commerce and that will be able to advise you about people on the ground as well. So moving on to step 4, so knowing your sector in a new market. Okay, so the great thing here is that it's quite a simple approach, because if you followed a lot of the steps we've done so far, then a lot of the research for this part has already been done. So all we're doing now in step 4 is just formalizing the information and filling in some gaps. So remember kind of where you can still get some of this information. So if you move from step 3 into step 4 and you're thinking, right, I've got a SWOT analysis to do, how am I going to do this? I don't think I've got all the information. Then here's a quick revision of people that can help you. So chambers of commerce, so again, are great. You can get a bit of information here. Online research, look at Google. So we've got a bit more detail here. So social media, have a look at some local social media. When I'm saying local, I mean local to that country. So you might look at your competitors. You might look at chambers of commerce as well to see what they're talking about. You might, if you've got a bit of knowledge, look into search engine optimization. What I'm talking about here is looking for key phrases and keywords, maybe by Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. In some countries, you've got Line, I think that's in Japan. They've got most countries have their own social media channels. So I've mentioned Twitter and Facebook, but find out which are the local social media channels as well for the country that you might be considering, and you'll find keywords and phrases in there. Look at websites as well. Look at what people talk about, how they market their websites, what the top headlines are. These are all really big clues about how people market themselves. And you've got trade shows, exhibitions. You can carry out surveys. So most of this advice is free. And I think it's fair to say that anybody that we've mentioned in terms of getting advice so far, most of the time, the first conversation you have is free. So just take advantage of that. Do speak to people, make the connections, establish the network. You'll be surprised at how much fantastic advice they can really offer you. So in this SWOT analysis, we're going to get into a bit more detail. So it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So in here, I've kind of put 4 steps. So we've got a market overview. So like what your market looks like in that sector, and the research and analysis of consumer trends. So what I mean by this is that if you've got quite a high birth rate, then if you're selling sort of baby clothes or infant materials, then that's going to be a great market for you to get into. So understanding like how the markets are made up and kind of trying to understand the appetite for the service or the product that you're looking to market. Have a look at maybe price comparisons from competitors. How much are they charging, and what value, what quality, and what quality cues are they providing? It might be a little bit different to what you're doing at home. Some countries or some cultures put more emphasis on service and one-to-one rather than sort of mass market approach. So maybe be aware of that as well. And also have a look at or consider in-market visits. So actually going to the country, approaching trade shows, okay, and getting to know people, maybe get to know your competitors as well. I'm going to hand over to Caroline on this little bit about B2B and B2G referrals, because this is Caroline's side. So are you okay, Caroline, to go through from steps 2 to 4?
Sure, Darren. So for B2B and B2G referrals, this refers to the contact identification and introduction service of the British Chamber. B2B meaning business to business, and B2G meaning business to government referrals. So basically, this is a tailored contact and introduction service for our clients, wherein we can assist you in your marketing strategy here. So for example, a client would want to have a specific partner, a local partner here in the Philippines, then we could assist them in sourcing out relevant contacts for them. So it can either be a B2B or a B2G. Sometimes clients would ask for government contacts, wherein just for them to source for information for their own research, then we could also accommodate that request. For number 3, it's soft landing services, wherein these are tailored support for businesses, including legal, accounting, security, and logistics. So basically, if you wanted to set up a company here and your registration or compliance, we can also assist you with that. For events, lastly, for events, we assist companies as well for their product launches and networking. We have a dedicated events and marketing team here at the chamber wherein we can coordinate with for your event needs. So we also support trade shows and organize trade missions wherein UK companies would be very welcome to take part of as well. I hope if anyone in the audience has any questions, then feel free to log in your questions as well on the comment box regarding our services.
Yeah, I think I think you've really touched a lot, because a lot of the things that I've been talking about today about how the kind of approach of research in a new market, a lot of the guidance and advice, and you offer that in your service, which I think is just fantastic. And there's things here that which are great. So in terms of the events and the B2G referrals is something I probably wouldn't have even thought about myself. So I think this is fantastic.
Yes, okay. I guess having a local insight firsthand would really be helpful in terms of exploring a new market.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's hard for businesses when they're thinking about choosing a business, choosing a country. You don't know anything to start off with, and you really are reliant on people on the ground to tell you honestly how things are. And choosing the right approach, and it can save you it's going to save you a lot of time, but also potentially save you a lot of money, a lot of wasted money just trying to cut corners. You spend maybe a little bit more time and research at the beginning, then potentially that's going to help you get on the road to success a lot quicker, isn't it? Okay, so your 5th and final step is your plan. So in this step, you're going to be creating 2 documents. You're going to be creating a business plan. And in that business plan is going to be an outline of your costs, just a simple financial plan of growth, and your routes to market. Okay, so it doesn't need to be anything too elaborate. Business plan, some people can think, oh, this is like going to be a huge document. It really doesn't need to be. It could be 3 or 4 pages. It might only just be a couple of pages. But it's a document that you can add to as and when things start to grow and take off. You can add more information in. So, as you understand more insights and more people that you've made connections with and more opportunities, you can just simply keep adding that into the business plan and then just review it on a regular basis. In terms of your marketing plan, you can break that down into 2 parts. Digital marketing, which I guess speaks for itself. So with the website, social media, it could be Google Ads. It might be different things that you might want to do under digital marketing. It could even just be LinkedIn, just having a presence and just trying to network people online. That's still digital marketing. That's fine. And your second part is physical activity. So it's about who's going to be on the ground and what they're going to be doing. So you might have a representative in the country. I know Caroline can work with kind of sourcing agents for your business, depending on what your business model is. But if you're looking to do that, then that would be a good example of physical activity. You might be a collaboration. So you might be working with somebody else in that country. You're working together on a project. So that's the type of information that will go in your physical activity box. Okay. So we've covered through the 5 steps of like how to grow your business overseas. So here's some of what we've covered. We've looked at the benefits, we've looked at the research and the planning, how knowing your sector is advantageous. Okay, so remembering that although it is successful for you, maybe in your current market, translating everything over to a different market, there might be some differences. So in terms of the language, the culture, how things are interpreted, and a little bit about how Other people can help you, like the Chamber and us, if you need any advice as well. And there is other partners that we've talked about, Department of International Trade, and other professionals as well. Okay, so we're going to move on to the questions. And just having a look here, we've got a question here from Matt. I'm going to give this one over to Caroline, actually. What social media platforms do the Philippines use the most?
Good question. Facebook here is quite popular in the Philippines. Instagram is also widely used, as well as Twitter.
Okay, so that's great. So hopefully that helps you there, Matt. Thank you very much for that question. And I know a couple of people have had to sort of to dart off, so that's absolutely fine. I've got a couple of questions here that have been sort of sent in to us. I've printed them out just as they were all ready. Somebody asked about Brexit. They want to remain anonymous, but just to really cover Brexit, it's a difficult one because there are no plans in place for what's going to happen on the 29th of March, which is the date that Britain is planning or being told or agreed to leave the UK. So, but if you're considering looking for new markets, I think that probably Caroline and I would agree that it takes a lot of time to research and make the contacts. So really just make the start researching, and liaise with organisations like the Chamber. You can provide you all the best up-to-date information, so you can make an informed decision. I think that's really the right approach to take at the moment. And then, you can take another rain check later on to see if things have changed. But if you kind of hold back and don't really get the project started, then you're probably never going to get the project started. So just get out there, start doing it, I think is probably the best advice. And then when you do have to make key decisions, then you can always seek advice at that stage. I've got another one here, and I know Caroline's got some as well, so I'll do this next one and then hand back to Caroline. Is it better to visit a country first before researching? And this has been sent in by David. I think, David, this really depends on the cost and available resources and how serious an investment you're looking to make. So if you're selling digital services, or you might even just be selling on eBay, for example, you might need to take advice about legal implications of maybe storing data, maybe consumer rights. But if you're building a factory, then a visit is probably going to be essential. And if you do visit, you're probably going to pick up additional knowledge such as funding. So it really could help your project. What about you, Caroline? Have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you that it would really depend on the cost and the resources of the company. But then again, we have clients would also prefer to have research first before coming on for a visit, because they see this as a more practical approach. But I guess, again, it would really depend on the needs of the company. And again, I think it's still best to have a bit of a background before you visit a country, just to manage expectations as well.
That's great. Did you have some questions, Caroline, as well, that have been given to you?
Hold on, let me check. Oh, we have one from Ken Wells. It's for you, Darren.
Okay.
Ken Wells.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Duco Digital operate in the Philippines? If so, any specific insights from your experience? Okay. We've been working with Caroline to potentially work with on a collaboration in the Philippines. I have to say, we're working on it, and we're trying to identify the right partner, and that can take a little bit of time. I'm being sort of quite honest there. So you might want to work. You need to find somebody who also is looking to work with somebody like yourself. So this is a good example of a real life project here. So we need to spend a bit more time, and so we're working with Caroline on doing that. But it's something that we're really keen to do. I'm kind of how this came about, the whole webinar. It was via an event with the Department of International Trade up in the Northeast, and I just simply went along and got speaking to chambers in different countries around the Asian area, and I kind of I've kind of really sort of struck a chord, I think, with Chris from the chamber. And for me, my experience of working in the Philippines beforehand with another business, I found it quite easy to do business. I felt people were really friendly. English was widely spoken. There were a lot of American and British businesses, which obviously Caroline can testify to, already out there. So kind of it's one of the easier countries to do business in if you're new to exporting overseas. But to answer your question, Ken, we're definitely looking to work with a partner, say in the Philippines, and helping businesses potentially there bring their services over to the UK, and maybe in vice versa, we can help some businesses in the UK, use the Philippines as a base to expand their markets as well. But if there's any specific questions that you've got, please ask them here, or definitely drop me a message afterwards. We're going to give our contact details, and Caroline, I'm sure, will have plenty of information that you can share with you as well. Somebody has just sent in a question here. This is from Annabelle. So she's asked that what happens if I start exporting and it doesn't really work out. So, okay, this does happen. It's unfortunate. But my advice is to build an exit strategy into your business plan. So if, for instance, you might find that if you don't hit a certain amount of sales within, say, 18 months, let's take that as an example, then you might want to consider a different plan, or you may have to wind the operations down if you do run out of money. But that's why it's really important to get your research done quite thoroughly at the beginning. But we would always urge people to seek professional advice about doing anything, certainly if you invest in money, because they'll be able to give you some insights and talk through all the risks and that for you. Obviously, if you're working kind of with a minimal budget, then the risks might be a little bit different, but you still could have a risk to reputation. So we'll always do bear that in mind as well. And I think that at some point, it depends again on the investment, like we talked about, but probably if you really want to partner up with somebody in the Philippines or any country, then you might really should consider going out to visit the country as well, because you really do get more of an appreciation for what that business is about. Have you got any other questions sent in to you, Caroline?
None from my side, Darren.
Okay, that's great. Well, I think that that kind of really covers like some of the questions. We've got another one just come in. So from Mark, sectors are showing growth, or which sectors do British businesses do well in the Philippines?
All right.
That's a good question. One for you, Caroline, I think.
It is. Well, basing on our records here at the Chamber, based on our assisted companies, sectors that are particularly attractive for British businesses would be in the retail sector, meaning food and drinks. We have a lot of inquiries from there. And we also have a lot of inquiries in the education sector or services, wherein they provide online learning tools and all those things. And currently, we're assisting a college who is interested to look for a partner here in the Philippines. Aside from that, we are also heavily promoting, again, as mentioned earlier, infrastructure projects here in the Philippines. So opportunities for engineering companies wanting to bid for some projects or here in the Philippines are also encouraged to see what the opportunities are for them here in the country.
That's
I hope
great.
that answers Mark's question.
Yeah, does that answer your question, Mark? Let us know. Oh, that's great. That's great. No problem. Okay, well, we're going to give you our contact details now. So if you've got any other questions, then please drop us an email or contact us. In fact, what we're going to do, we're going to send everybody who's registered for the webinar just a follow-up email just to see how you found the webinar. Was there anything missing from the webinar that you'd like to kind of being answered, and just to see if you need any sort of like further help or advice as well. Caroline, I'll let you talk through your details.
So if you'd like to know more about the British Chamber of Commerce Philippines, you can visit our website at www.britcham.org.ph. If you have specific questions about our services, or if you're interested to enter the Philippine market, you may email me at cdsilva@britcham.org.ph. Or for general inquiries, or if you're curious how to be a member, yes, we do welcome overseas members. You can message us at info@britcham.org.ph. So the benefits of joining the chamber are also listed on the screen.
Okay, that's great. And if you've got any advice, or if you've got any questions, and we can help provide some advice for you from a marketing perspective. The chamber, I'm sure, will be able to help you, but we can also help you as well. You can email me personally, Darren at ducodigital.co.uk. Our website is ducodigital.co.uk as well. We can help with websites, results in the international market, SEO, and just general inquiries, or maybe putting a marketing and business plan together. Anything that we can't do, we'll be able to refer you to other professionals as well. Karen, I just really want to thank you very much for helping with the webinar. I've really enjoyed it today, and thank you everybody for attending as well.
Thank you as well, Darren. It was such a pleasure hosting this webinar with you.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody, and I hope everybody's found it really useful and helpful, and hope you have a fantastic day.